Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Galloway. I'd like to welcome you again to another episode of Tech Talk with CATRS. I am happy to introduce one of our sponsors of our upcoming event on September 17th, the CATRS Technology Forum. Let's give a warm welcome for Kevin Willis.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Boy, they love you, Kevin.
Yeah,
this is great.
They were great. I can't see them. They're great.
I know they're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're in the virtual metaverse. That's what we're going to say. Kevin, hey, again, welcome. Wanted to thank you for again being here and joining us. And we thought we'd talk a little bit about you and your business. And again, Kevin's supported the event for the last several years, and he's back again, providing a sponsorship that helps with the gourmet lunch that we're having that day. Which is going to be from Black Fig. So we'll put details in there both for Kevin's website and company after the show is done, as well as for how to register and join us on the 17th for the 12th annual CATRS Technology Forum. So, Kevin, that being said, tell us a little bit about yourself and Kevin Willis Photography.
Thank you. Kevin Willis Photography. I make it as easy as I can for you. I have been shooting photography since high school, which I won't tell you how long ago that was, but I've been shooting for well over 30 years. I found my niche in real estate photography about 5 years ago when my wife became a realtor and said, "Hey, I need you to shoot my stuff." So I'm like,
couldn't say no to that, could you?
I had no choice. I said, absolutely. So once I started, though, I just absolutely fell in love with it. Now, if I back up a little bit, I will say that my love before that was always landscape and nature photography, things that were still and I didn't have to chase around or, hopefully they didn't close their eyes or anything. And I did my fair share of portraits and weddings and events and things like that. And I always loved being around people and shooting. But I really found a niche and a passion, if you will, when I started shooting real estate, taking something that's inanimate and bringing it to life, and just showing the beauty of a home. And let's face it, not all listings are absolutely gorgeous, but doing what we can to make that house have its own character and its own life, and presented to a potential buyer the best way that we can, so that they can see themselves in that house.
Yeah, and I've looked at some of your work on the MLS and on your site and everything, and to me, you strike a really nice balance between, as you say, accentuating the characteristics of the particular property, but at the same time, it's realistic. I guess these are some ethical concerns. We hear this a lot. As a consumer, I'm a consumer. Doug's again. He's in the back of the studio he's just making sure that we're on point. Producer Doug is what we're going to call him. So producer Doug. So
get a name tag.
Yeah, I know. Hatter, he said like pay increase something, right? Other duties as a side. But no, going back to there's some ethical concern, because I tell you, as a consumer, there's nothing more frustrating than when you're shopping for a home and you see a listing, you go to the home because there's these gorgeous photographs, but they're a little too gorgeous.
That's true.
They've been manipulated. And then you go to the house and you're like, oh, well, they didn't just do a good job. They did. This is not that house.
Yeah, it's too good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you balance putting the property in its best light without enhancing
without
it too
overdoing
much?
it? No, I totally agree. And there is that tendency to make it better than it is, make the room seem bigger than it is or brighter than it is. And it's a balance that every house presents its own potential issues. So just kind of go back, shoot it well on site, as far as lighting, exposure, color balance, things like that, getting all of that right. Then going back to our digital darkroom and taking that and then putting it into a digital format and out on the MLS, so that it looks like it did when I shot it in my viewfinder.
Right.
So as an artist, I want to, maybe zoom in on something that has nothing to do with selling the house, like this beautiful arrangement that's on the dining room table. And the realtor's like, that's great and everything, but the dining room table's not included. So trying to make that room, shooting it at an angle where prospectively it looks right. The depth looks right. It doesn't look, when somebody walks in, it's like, oh, it looked a lot bigger in the pictures. Or a lot brighter, or whatever. So yeah, there is a balance in doing that. So we want to present the house as it is.
Well, you do a great job with that, and guys, again, we'll put the links in there. Go out and check out some of Kevin's work, and obviously, if you're in need, definitely give him a call. You mentioned you started out kind of with landscape. Any interesting places? Has it been mainly local or all through the states? And I just want you to what I want you to tell me is that you've been in Nepal and you've taken pictures of the mountains and everything.
I have a very good friend that goes to Nepal once a year on a mission trip.
Oh man!
And he's been trying to get me to go for the last 5 years, and for the last 5 years, I've said no. It's never fit into our time. I would love to do that. So the answer to your question is that's not one of the places. What I love doing is going around Tallahassee. Tallahassee has some amazing places to shoot. There was one, I don't know if you remember, years ago, going out Thomasville Road, the Target was just being built. That was an old seafood restaurant. I know a lot of you guys can remember that when it was a 2-lane road, but they tore that down. They cleared that property, and then across the street from that, they put in a little drainage area. Because the city or the county makes them do that. So anyway, one morning I caught a sunrise with a little bit of fog over these trees, and I shot it. And I happened to give it to a friend of mine as a Christmas gift. I put a Bible verse on it, and he said, "Where did you shoot?
Where did you get that from?"
I said, "Well, I can tell you, but then I got to kill you." But and I told him where it was. He says, "I never would have noticed that." And that was always kind of my thing, is like taking a picture, like, "Where did you shoot that?" So you won't believe it. I just found it.
It's interesting you say that, especially on a lot of Apple products. You're starting to see it more on even Windows computers, but people are really big into the desktop, wallpaper.
Right.
Well, with Apple devices, that's kind of one of the allures. By default, you used to get these really gorgeous panoramic, pictures and scenery of places all across the earth, and that's what people say. Where is that? I was like, I don't know. So let's go find it. But now one of the really cool things with the newer Macs is that you're getting the video. So it's this wide, panning, moving, photo. It's just really
and it's very
cool.
Subtle.
It is. It's great. But I think it's kind of one of those interesting things.
None of mine are on there.
None of yours?
Until I add them.
Until you add them. Well, that's Apple.
So if I ever work on your Apple product, it'll probably
come on, Apple.
It'll have my wallpaper.
You're missing out. Hey, we got an exclusive here, and if we work the deal, I'm his agent. Okay.
All right.
All right. So
0% of zero is
zero
is a lot of money.
So again, with the photography, what about portraits? Group? Do any commercial work? Anything like that outside of real estate?
I do real estate, architectural photography is it. Now I do. I have a drone business as well, and I do a lot of construction photography, progress construction. I take a site from beginning to end and do regular interval, both mapping and photos, so that the construction, the contractor can see their progress, the owners can see the progress, and then they can also scroll through those pictures that have been taken at the same spot. Every
those are always nice.
And just kind of scroll and see that progress.
Those are always nice.
It's really cool.
I think that's really interesting.
So I do a lot of, but it's all residential and commercial architectural type photography.
Okay. Yeah. Well, great. And in Tallahassee, you talk about places. Well, really the surrounding counties too. If you go like to a lot of the, I shouldn't say older, but I would say smaller towns. If you go to Monticello,
right.
When I moved here, that was like one of the interesting things. I started going to all these smaller towns, and I was like, why does all of them have a square with the courthouse? And it all looks the same, right. Kind of like the whole Monticello courthouse and everything. Yeah. But my point is, in a lot of those places, Thomasville, some really cool architecture.
Yes.
So, yeah, I
They're
imagine.
they're putting a lot of effort too into reviving a lot of these communities, smaller communities. Crawfordville is growing at leaps and bounds right now, so it's a lot of fun to see that and to go out and if you look at pictures we took even 5 years ago, 2 years ago, and then today you see a huge difference in a lot of times as we go through these areas we don't notice it, but if you spend a year especially in Monticello. If you go to Monticello and you haven't been there in a year, you see a lot of new growth and new activity going on in that downtown area. That's fantastic for that community.
Yeah, no, it is. And when we think about it from a historical standpoint, I mean, you're really kind of doing a service in that sense.
Absolutely.
I like going out. I want to say that it's on X, Twitter. I used X, but it's Twitter. Tallahassee has a couple of older accounts where you get to see the older historical stuff all the way back in like to the early 1900s.
Right.
And it's cool to kind of see like Monroe Street in like the 50s and the 40s. And it's just really but somebody like you had to capture those things.
Well, it's interesting. My son has a map that he bought that was hand drawn of the downtown area. So my goal, I haven't done it yet because I haven't had time because I'm doing these blog podcasts, daily. No, not really.
He's a regular. He will be. He doesn't know that.
So my goal is to do some aerial shots, looking straight down as a map view of downtown currently, and then overlay them over this map, so we can kind of see how the architectural, the road system stayed the same, but the architectural has changed so much over even the last 15, 20 years. We came here in 1995, and we have seen just a massive change in what has happened all throughout Tallahassee, not just Northeast, but even downtown, South, Southeast. What's going on in Southwood is incredible.
Yeah, you kind of dated yourself when you said Thomas Road when it was 2 lanes. Because a lot of people like the little overpass. I remember when they were doing that, I was like, "Oh man, this
is it ever going to finish?
This is are they ever going to get done with this thing?" And now when you drive over, you're like, "Come on, guys! Like, what are we doing? Like, it should have taken this long to kind of get that done." But I want to kind of transition a little bit to what we're talking about, which is your sponsorship of the CATRS Technology Forum on September 17th. Technology. I wonder from your perspective, what changes have you seen in your career with technology from the camera and lens perspective?
Oh my word.
That has to be crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. Like I said, I've been shooting for over 30 years. So I started with the film camera. It's interesting because back then the players were Hasselblad, Leica. Nobody could afford those except the guys that were shooting in New York. But then there was Canon, Nikon, and then there was a small company called Shinon. If you ever shot film, you probably remember them because they were kind of an offshoot, but they were very, very good quality. So I started with that. My dad gave me one, started with that, then worked my way up to, I shot on my high school annual staff, and the guy shooting with me, he had a Nikon. I'm like, this guy's so good. But it was funny because I was always very, very slow, methodical, meticulous about my shots. He was kind of a run and gun kind of guy, great photographer. But it was my shots that ended up like on the covers of the annual
yearbooks and
right, and in the sections, the sports sections, things like that. And not that I was a better photographer, but I took my time and I made sure my exposure was right, my focus was right. And back then in film, you had to get it right.
A little bit different.
It was a lot different, but we did develop our own, and there was a lot of darkroom techniques that we used even back then. Technology is interesting because technology doesn't really revolve around electronics, though it does involve electronics in a lot of cases, especially in today's culture. Technology is just a way of doing what you're doing more efficiently. So it could be a workflow change. It could be, just a change in how you calculate data, whatever. Technology doesn't have to be electronic, though there are so many electronic things that make our lives so much easier. But, for some people, that's intimidating. It's hard to make that move to a newer Mac or a newer operating system or a new CRM or a new workflow. If you take baby steps in your technology, look at your workflow and say, okay, where's my bottleneck? What's giving me grief? And then address that in baby steps instead of trying to do an overhaul of your entire technology. That will drive you crazy. And it'll be very time consuming. But so my hope, going back to, I gave you a long
that was great.
I
thought that was really good.
short question. But going back to the technology forum, I sit in on the classes as well. I'm not a realtor, but I enjoy hearing, what they have available and just seeing these small little nuggets of, oh, that can change how I do this. Wow, and that's an easy change. And so walking away with little nuggets like that. Plus, you get to see, there's a bunch of us out in the exhibit hall, get to talk to us one-on-one. And, there's lots of photographers. There are lots of title agencies. There are lots of bankers. There are a lot of people that do what as a resource what you need them to do.
Correct.
So you can meet us all and then kind of build your team. And we're not, nobody, I think I can speak for everybody. Nobody is saying you just need to use me for all your work. Put a team together of a couple of photographers, a couple of title agencies, and that way you can make sure that your schedule is met. Because there's a lot of times these closings are fast, and or I get a call all the time. Hey, I've got a listing. I've got to get it up tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
If I can, I certainly will do what I can to make that happen. But there are times that it can't. So you need to have another photographer that you can call. Or if you don't, I will always tell you, hey, call whoever, Nancy, Haley.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I'm going to see later in post. So I'll pull this out and do kind of a snippet. For the tech forum, for those of you out there who haven't attended, not really clear on what it is, it's a technology conference, and we focus on current and emerging tech that you can use in your business and your personal life. And here's a really interesting thing, and Kevin has seen this the last couple of years. Any of the speaking parts are no longer than 5 or 10 minutes. It's really about what is the technology, what's the benefit, how can I use it, and we're not pushing anything. We're just kind of making business people aware of what is available, and then we let them make the choice. But what I really wanted to kind of emphasize that you said is we encourage people. There's 4 sessions. Take one thing that's actionable. Mm-hmm. That you like.
That's right.
One thing from each session. It's always interesting to see people kind of walk out and they'll say, "Oh, man, information overload. It's too much." And shout out to Stretch Zone. We'll have Stretch Zone. They're one of our other sponsors. They'll be there. So if you're a little tense and everything, go kind of get a massage, and they'll stretch you out. And it's really a science to that. I learned that. Yeah. But my point is that it's really, that's the key. It's a lot of technology, and if you let it overwhelm you, it can. One actionable thing. I always say it's kind of like New Year's resolutions. See a lot of people make them, and I know people that have literally like a list. Yeah. And you get back by the time June rolls around. So I didn't do anything.
Are you a resolution guy?
I'm not. I'm more. I guess I'm kind of like I try to take every year professionally, personally. Right. I try to take one thing that I can kind of improve on. We're all imperfect, and so I usually say, "Okay, I really need to fix this year," because if you, I just find it's overwhelming if you just, number one, there's not enough time in the day,
right,
to try to do 50 million things. That's so one thing, I like simplicity. Mm-hmm. One thing that I can kind of concentrate on, and I'm like that even as a technologist. I'm like that, where it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. I'll try this. But the second thing that I wanted to really kind of key on that you mentioned is that we have all these vendors that are there. And so we have affiliates of the association. We obviously have some real estate people, but we're going to have people of the public that come. So again, it's really about technology. There's definitely some emphasis on some things, but we're going to be talking about smart home. We're talking about cybersecurity. I mean, that's what I wanted to ask you about. That just jogged my memory. Artificial intelligence. Any challenges you're having with that with photography?
That is the new buzzword, and it's funny because everything it's honestly become and I say this kind of tongue in cheek. It's become a marketing thing more than a technology thing. Unfortunately, now there is a lot of very good technology surrounded by AI. AI is a buzzword, so you're going to see it in a lot of things that really are not AI. And it's interesting. I was talking to a database guy, and he said, a lot of the AI that we're calling AI, we've been doing this for years. It's really just predictive analogy. And so we've had computer algorithms that have been doing this stuff for many years, like not just 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So AI is kind of like all encompassing, but there are a lot of things, especially in my world, as far as back end, photo retouching, being able to remove objects, things like that, that have advanced. Now we've been able to do that for many, many years, but it's gotten a lot better and a lot easier, a lot faster.
Yeah.
When I say better, it's like now we can remove a garbage can and you'll never even know.
You never know it's there. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's where it gets really interesting. I think you're right. A lot of these things have been around for a while. Where it gets really interesting, I think where there's been a bit of divergence is consumers can very easily manipulate things using artificial intelligence. And the Google Pixel, smartphone is kind of one where, you take that shot, you don't want something in it, tap, boom, it's gone. Looks like it was never there. We're going to be and I won't get into it too much, but one of the areas that we are going to talk about, because while this technology has been around, it's the way that it's being used, and it's not always great. So deep fakes, and particularly for a lot of our realtor professionals, there's a lot of things out there that they kind of need to be aware to maybe kind of avoid and do that. And particularly from a photography standpoint, copyright. I mean, that's just a really big deal.
Right.
So great. Anything else you're looking for? What about you? So you're a karaoke guy? See, Kevin just gave that away. He said, Paul.
Yeah. He asked what was my favorite thing about the last few years at karaoke. I mean, really? What else? You know what? The whole thing is fun. I enjoy the classes. I'm a learning guy. I love to learn. My kids tease me all the time because I'm always doing online classes. I'm always doing learning something. I'm a tech geek at heart. And, going back to your earlier question, I have seen a lot of technology changes in the photography world, going from film to digital to mirrorless, and seeing, built-in stabilization. Oh my word.
It's
wow. And
if you got shakes like me, that makes a difference.
It doesn't take much to make a picture bad, with a quick shake. But, even in the phones that we carry, seeing the ability, like you mentioned Google Pixel, iPhone as well. Now they're putting the levels in. You can do some background blurring.
Some blur on it, yeah.
So there's a lot that you can do with your iPhone. And I'm actually working on a YouTube course for realtors in using their iPhone to take pictures. Now, if you're a photographer, a real estate photographer, please don't send me mean email. This is, and let's be honest, there are listings that do not require my services. And there are realtors out there that will say, I don't care what the listing is. I don't want to do it. So, but there are some that will say, it's a small listing, not a big house, not a real high dollar listing. I'll just do it myself. So I've seen some really bad iPhone pictures out there in listings. I've seen some decent ones, and you can do some really good. So I'm working on that course because that ability is there if you need it. Again, I talked a little bit about building your team. That's part of your team, is being able to have that resource. And it's not for every listing, but there are listings that it is for.
Yeah, I think there's some circumstances with photography, videography. I'll use this organic, especially if you're doing social media. Sometimes it doesn't need to be this super well polished, produced, kind of production. You just don't need it.
Yeah.
I think the things that kind of go viral sometimes are. I'll give an example. There was a realtor. This has been probably 6-7 years ago, so social media was still relatively new. But it's kind of what I always say as far as people showing their value in their profession. There's all the marketing that you can do, but I'll never forget it. She was dressed really, really nice. She was going to a listing. She walks into it. It looked like it was an open house, and heels, everything. She just really looked really nice. Like, she walked through, looked at the house, And she just kept going straight through to the back door. She walks out, gets into the backyard. There's one of those blow up pools with the big slide.
Yeah.
She takes off her heels, starts climbing up, gets in, slides down, and is soaking wet. My point is, I had a friend down there that was looking for a realtor, somebody to help. And I recommended her because I started following her stuff. And you learn that, well, not only was she kind of, smart, not only was she really funny, had a sense of humor, she did a really good job with marketing, and she did it all herself, but she was really good at what she did from a real estate standpoint. But I would have never bothered to investigate that had I not seen that really quick video, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah. It was great. So again, I think
She's clearly
organic.
confident in who she was.
She was. The organic things were like really great. But I mean, it did. It was like one of like the most watched small videos. Like I said, about 60 seconds. So that's great. Again, Kevin, we want to thank you for again sponsoring, and we're gonna have Kevin back if he's willing to come back. We'd like to kind of do like a little bit of a postmortem after the tech forum to kind of talk about what went great and what we'll look forward to next year. Any parting words?
We'll be there. We'll be out in the exhibit hall. We are giving away a free shoot, so if you come by, just drop a business card in a bowl. And it's a full shoot with drone shots, with a slideshow, MLS photos. It's the full thing. It's not just a scaled down little, here's a snippet. This is a full deal. So we're giving that away absolutely free. And so if you come by, drop nothing you have to sign up for. Just drop your business card in a bowl, and we'll be drawing that at the end.
If I'm a construction company, if I have a clothing outlet, so it doesn't have to be real estate. If I win it, you'll come and do a shoot of my okay, that's great.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. You want to plug your website?
I won't do a wedding. So
hey, you hear that?
Sorry.
And you have the proof. We have it on video.
Sorry,
so
I'm
no weddings.
I will point you to a very good wedding photographer.
No weddings and no launches on SpaceX.
Website is kevinwillisphoto.com.
All right. Okay. Thanks again, Kevin. We appreciate it. And we'd like to thank all of you for joining us. And we'll look forward to you on the next episode of Tech Talk with CATRS. Until then, we'll see you on September 17th at the CATRS Technology Forum. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.